Okay. I think I saw on my feed this morning on Twitter that Joe Rogan was going to be doing some sort of capitalism versus Marxism debate or discourse or something. And Joe Rogan, for as much as I am at odds with him right now, he's really been putting on a lot of postmodern thinkers out there, and it's really hard to find in this pro-Trump nationalist, alpha male, very categorical mindset that we've kind of fallen into right now, or where we are politically, socially, and whatever the case may be. And one of obviously the biggest postmodern thinkers out there that are really highly misunderstood by this country is Marxism. And I'm not a huge proponent of communism or socialism as a political solution, and it's really becoming demonized because it's being associated with the left or the Democrats, and for good reason. I think their ultimate goal is some sort of socialistic, tyrannical state of some sort. But as far as Marxism is concerned, the writings of Karl Marx, if you will, more than any sort of social solution or ideology or political practice, it is a critique. It's a critique of capitalism, and that's what it should be thought of in its truest merits. And that's what any person who is sponsoring capitalism as the answers to some of our biggest problems really has to deal with. They really have to deal with this idea that Karl Marx noted as far as this critique goes. And I'm going to just point out one of the major critiques as far as what is systematically problematic for capitalism and why we have to have stimulus programs, or otherwise known as Keynesian programs, either through government programs stimulating the economy, interest rates, money supply, taxation, things of that nature. All those things can be used to either make the economy cold or hot. Well, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to supplement that? And Karl Marx was really the only person to really make a nice treatise on why that is and an understanding of why that is. So try to pass that along to you and see if you can get this with me. Essentially, when you look at the mechanisms of capitalism, if you are a capitalist, if you are an owner, you own a company, and you're going to make a good, that good is going to be composed of two parts to denote its value. It's going to have capital value, meaning the goods that it goes to make it, the parts, and then there's going to be obviously labor value, and that's the value that wars are fought after, if you think about it. And so, doing some work here, so just hang in there with me. Oh boy. So, when we're talking about the labor value, what's interesting is that to be a good capitalist, to be a good business owner, your laborer is creating all the value in that good that you intend to sell into the market, whether it's light bulbs or whatever the case may be. The people that are actually making the product is arguably 70 to 80% of the value. There's ingenuity, there's invention, patents, things of that nature that also give a lot of value to it. Scarcity, things of that nature. But really, it never would be a thing if that laborer didn't actually create it on a daily basis and create supply. Problem is that as a capitalist, you can't pay the laborer what you're going to sell, the rightful value of that good that he created. You have to pay the laborer less to be a good capitalist. Because to be a good capitalist, your number one concern is profit. You have to make a profit. So you can't sell the good for the amount that you paid the laborer. Okay? You can't sell it at a cost where you're losing money or even breaking even on labor costs. You always systematically, institutionally, categorically, as a rule, as a capitalist, has to pay the laborer less than the value they are creating into the good that's going to be sold into the market. Problem being, the person that's going to buy that good in the market is the same labor force. And they're shorted the demand, as we call it in economics, or the dollars, to go buy the good that they actually worked on. Okay, so I created $10 worth of value in this product. I got paid $5. I can't pay for that product. Okay, and that's what we call the law of diminishing returns or diminishing demand, in the sense that capitalism will always create a hole where demand will never reach the amount of supply that is being created by the market, and this creates the deficiencies in the market. This creates not only poverty, but systematic market crashes, slow growth, etc., which is why the government has to become more and more involved into the economic structure to keep it going as a process of distributing goods and creating value in our society. So again, that is systematic. That is at the very fundamental core of what happens in capitalism. The fact that you pay your laborers less than the value they create and then expect them to go out and buy those products means that there's never going to be enough demand dollars for what you produce. And thus you need either government stimulation or through for instance, everyone talks about welfare, for example, and it's a great thing to complain about if you're a conservative. It's a way of saying that that's the way the Democrats hook you into being a voter for life, etc., etc. But all the biggest corporations in food industry insist on welfare. They are the proponents of welfare. The poor are not going out on the streets creating some super PAC to create welfare. Okay, it is because the farm subsidies, or rather the farming industry, creates more than the demand that's out there to make. So without welfare, farmers would be going out of business. Agribusiness is the largest